Today we're going to be looking at a small-sized daily stroller from Cybex, the Eezy S Plus 2, not to be confused with the family's little brother, the Eezy S2, the complicated twins, the Eezy S Twist 2 and Twist Plus 2, or the cousin who pretends he's not related, the GB Qubit Plus All City. If this is confusing to you, don't worry. They're all essentially the same model, at least in the ways that count. The reason for having so many models which share essentially the same mechanisms and engineering solutions is directly tied to the larger strategy of Goodbaby International, Cybex's parent company. And along with the release of this video, we've decided to make our expose article concerning the relationship between Cybex and Goodbaby International free on our Patreon page, as we feel that the way Cybex represents themselves is highly deceptive and worth exposing. If you're interested, you can follow the link in the comment pinned below this video. We're not going to go into all that anymore today though. Instead, we're just going to cover the Eezy S Plus 2 as its own model, exploring it in terms of comfort and functionality, as well as mechanics. Let's start off with some stats. The Eezy S Plus 2 clocks in at 7.6 kilos and folds down to 61.5 by 45 by 43 centimeters, too large for cabin luggage, but admirable for a small-sized daily model. It can take up to 22 kilos in the seat and 5 kilos in the underslung shopping basket. The seat on the Plus 2 is decently sized for its class, especially with relation to length, and includes a full recline, adjustable via the common draw strap system, as well as an adjustable leg rest, which makes use of similar mechanisms to a lot of older umbrella-type models, like those from Silvercross or McLaren, if you know what I mean. We'll be making a general demo video for this model later on if you want to get a closer look at what I'm talking about. As far as the canopy is concerned, the Plus 2's canopy has 3 sections, and while it doesn't draw down quite as low as a lot of other strollers these days, it will still generally provide decent sun coverage, though if one were to use the model with smaller children whose head will rest a little lower on the seat back, it may still be advisable to get an additional sun cover for sleeping in the fully reclined position. When it comes to the materials used for the seat, the textile quality and padding is only okay, as is the corrugated plastic of the backboard. And as with other places on the model, I do sort of get the sense that they use the cheapest materials they thought they could get away with without risking actually getting called cheap. When it comes to parent comfort, while the Plus 2 is functioning as it should, and provided your intention is to use it on relatively easy terrain, the model will excel right out of the box, as a result of a couple sets of factors. Firstly, driving-wise, the Plus 2's relatively large wheels and decent suspension allow for pretty solid urban use, even when it comes to poorly maintained sidewalks or smoother dirt roads. And secondly, that handy one-hand fold and overall weight of well under 10 kilos make the model very user-friendly when it comes to folding and carrying. The unfortunate truth with both of these sets of characteristics, however, comes with the overall construction, which impacts how the model is likely to wear down. And so, in order to explain this better, we'll now move on to the mechanics, having a look at the Eezy S Plus 2 from top to bottom. We're going to begin by looking at the handle, the folding system, and just the overall structure of the chassis. And I wanted to start by making a general note about construction materials, being that, overall, the Plus 2 is built with very thin, lightweight aluminum bars, which are connected nearly completely by rivets, and at several junctions, there's not much in the way of plastic joints connecting the crossbars. Rather, they're just riveted into each other. Now, while this does do a lot for keeping the stroller lightweight overall, this sort of construction seriously reduces the longevity of the model, and looseness is likely to happen after a matter of months rather than years. This looseness, in addition to making the stroller a lot more rickety to use and leading to potential breaks, also has the unfortunate effect of creating asymmetry issues in the chassis, which is particularly important because of the sort of folding system that the Eezy S Plus 2 employs. You see, in order to achieve that one-hand fold, the model makes use of internal wires connecting the activation button at the top center of the handle with a pair of locking mechanisms halfway down the arms, which are responsible both for locking the model open as well as close. The rest of the fold relies on all those weak, riveted hinge points that I mentioned. The result of this weaker construction is that as the stroller begins to loosen, folding is likely to get a lot more fiddly with relation to properly locking the stroller either upright or closed. And in addition, any sort of looseness-based asymmetries will also put additional pressure on the locking mechanisms themselves, which may well lead to alignment issues or outright breakage. Okay, we're going to have a little bit of a closer look at the rear frame then. Cybex has a tendency to use this same rear frame on virtually all of their models, though proportioned differently of course. And for the most part, it's of a generally good design, incorporating a pair of decently sized suspension units as well as a rotation-based rather than a wire-based brake system, which is a good thing as rotation-based systems are a bit more robust and involve fewer, small and breakable components. That being said, as I've criticized on other Cybex models, they still haven't changed the brake pins themselves, which rather than being constructed of a solid bar of metal, instead use a thinner metal wire encased in plastic. While these pins are unlikely to cause problems at first, there is a lot of wear put on brake pins, and after a while, the plastic coating is apt to wear down, which could cause brake system failures. As far as the rear wheels are concerned, I find no fault with the method with which they are attached to the chassis, or with the general build of the wheels themselves, but the rubber foam of the tires is of a sort that is likely to develop a lot of holes and collect sharp pebbles just from regular use over a few years. When it comes to the front frame, the front wheels have the standard suspension built into the forks, which is good. And again, I like the dimensions of the Plus 2's wheels on a stroller of this size, especially the front wheels, as larger front wheels just makes it so much easier to get up and over difficult bumps in the terrain. As far as the swivel locks are concerned, I'm happy to see Cybex not using the common pin system that they employ on the majority of their models, but rather a sliding clamp on the back side of the wheel mounts, which is a bit sturdier, a bit more like the way Boogaboo used to design their swivel locks. As far as how the front wheels lock into the front frame, the Plus 2 does not employ any sort of spring-loaded pads in order to protect the model from developing wobble problems, but they have built the fork axles with a pair of additional raised plastic lips at the bottom, allowing the front wheels to be held within the wheel mounts at varying circumferences, which does aid a little bit in the longevity of this connection point. That being said, the wheels are still a little bit loose inside the housings right out of the box, so only time will tell if this design is sufficient to keep the front wheel housings from wearing down and getting looser in the future. So, should you get the Eezy S Plus 2? My general answer would be no. Though, while looking at the evolution of essentially the same mechanisms and engineering solutions over a variety of GB models, I do notice some improvements. Generally, what has changed feels more like band-aids. A few weak extra crossbars and sheaths beneath rivets and so on, but nothing that would suggest an actual push towards building for longevity. In general then, while the Eezy S Plus 2 has a lot of qualities that are going to look good on paper, and will also feel good right out of the box, such as a decent sized seat, big wheels and good suspension, a weight well under 10 kilos and a one-hand fold, the overall manner in which the model is put together is just subpar in my opinion, even by Cybex standards really, reflecting, I assume, that difference between their gold and platinum lines. There are simply too many rivets, weak thin bars, and complicated fragile mechanisms for this stroller to last. In any case, we hope you found this video interesting, and if you did, we ask that you subscribe, as it helps us to continue making videos in the future. In addition, if you are currently shopping for a stroller, we have a buyer's guide on our Patreon page which lists a wide range of models that we recommend, with a lot of technical and lifestyle related information. You can find it by following the link in the description. Thank you.